let's look ahead to the summer. And one player who's recently been in the headlines has been linked with a possible exit from Man City is Bernardo Silva. It's unquestionable how important he's been for Guardiola. He's
Mhm.
currently in his eighth season. He's made almost 400 appearances for City. He's been a key cog in a hugely successful team. He's been a joy to watch really over the years. But he is one that's maybe struggled a little bit this season, and at the age of 30 has been linked with an exit. It's weird. It's been well documented that he would like to return to boyhood club Benfica before he retires.
Yeah.
There's been a few links with other European clubs like Barcelona, for example, and Saudi Pro League clubs as well. He'll soon be entering the final year of his contract, and it's recent reports have claimed that he's been told he's not going to be part of City's plans beyond this season, and Benfica are said to be ready to sort of find an agreement with City, but that £50 million release clause that he's said to have is a major stumbling block at the moment.
Mhm.
It's since been reported as well that Bernardo's not actually spoken to Guardiola yet about his future, and he doesn't know where these reports of a return to Benfica have come from. So, as fans, we're sort of getting mixed messages over Bernardo. Where do you stand, Stephen, on him? And we all know that De Bruyne is leaving this summer. There could be a few other high-profile exits. Do you think Bernardo could be another one of those, or do you think he could stay for one more season?
Yeah. A lot to unpack, really. I mean,
Yeah,
I saw the report suggesting that City were willing to let him go. I think there's an element of truth in everything. I'm not sure. I think City might be willing to let him go. I don't know. I don't know if Pep would want him to go. I don't know if Bernardo wants to go. I think he might go for the right packet. I think it's very complicated. I think City are conscious of losing all these players for very low fees because ultimately, as much as you want to move on, it's bad business to let all these players walk away for nothing. You can't lose them all on a free. So someone have to stump up a fee for Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, typically, after all those rumours, was excellent against Aston Villa. He was probably the best player on the pitch for City. Bernardo at his effervescent, brilliant best, where he's just everywhere and he's tenacious and he's great. I actually am a firm believer that Bernardo's got plenty left to offer. I think a lot of the joy of his game's gone because he's been working as opposed to enjoying his football. And I think in a confident team again, playing less football, I think he'd find a little bit of that spark again, and find a new motivation as one of the leaders potentially wearing the captain's armband, finding a new role. And look, I talk about this stuff far too much, but just because I'm a dad now as well, I've got a 2.5-year-old. My life has changed, and he's a dad, a young dad, and he's reasonably settled in Manchester. I think there's an element of him that wouldn't mind another year there as his little toddler grows a little bit, becomes a captain. It reflects where he's in his life, as a senior, as a leader, as a dad, as a father. And I think there's a small part of him would do another year, then potentially walk out on a free afterwards, back home to where his family are, play for Benfica in his home. And I think there's an element of him that would be fine with that because it just sort of suits his life right now. I think I saw some rumors that the potential exits are potentially encouraged by the sporting director, Hugo Viana, Cheeky Briggenstein, Ferran Soriano. That team might be willing to move him on. But there's a lot that needs to happen before that actually results in anything permanent. Like, I would guess that Guardiola's said after his own admission that he resisted a rebuild last summer. I would guess Guardiola's just given the keys to the director of football and gone, go for it, man. Like, I don't think Guardiola had anything to do with Kusanov and Marmoush and whatever. They just brought him in. Um, Within reason, so to speak. I'm not sure. He was not didn't tell him the next day. And he was surprised. But I think Guardiola will let them do it. But I think if you ask Guardiola, do you want Bernardo Silva? He'd probably say, yeah, of course I do. I think he loves Bernardo Silva. And I think of all the players, look, Bernardo's 30 years old, incredibly versatile, incredibly likable. I don't think he's good at right wing anymore. I don't think he has the magic there, but I think he's more than a good enough option to play in midfield, for many years. So it's complicated. I think there'll be more and more that will come out. I am reasonably relaxed either way. I think there's something in the idea of him going which could be quite exciting. I know it's also sad but exciting because when I think of Guardiola's favourites, Bernardo, the joke is that he's Guardiola's son. Like the guy loves him to bits, and him moving on at a reasonably good age still. He's only 30. It's not like it's 1994 anymore, where 30-year-olds over the hill. It's like he could play for another 5 years at a good level, probably given his intelligence. But him moving on would be a real aggressive statement of intent of a rebuild, in my opinion, because it's easy to move on De Bruyne, even though he's a legend, because his contract's up. Is you just you just don't sign a contract and it's done. It's hard to sell someone for a fee less than you want because they would want more than the 10, 15 million Benfica would pay, in my guess. I think that's all they'd pay. And that takes you got to swing the axe basically, and it sounds like it might be against his will to an extent. So yeah, and the flip side of that is then, well, it means they mean business. It means they will aggressively rebuild. And as a football fan, that's quite exciting because I like new stories. As much as I don't want to see the legends go, I also don't want to watch the same thing forever. Like I actually quite like it when new players come in because I like the new stories and the new angles, and it's exciting to me to say thank you. After 7, 8 years, move on, and then watch the new guys come in. So. I'm relaxed either way, essentially. If he stays, great. He's a brilliant leader. I think he's got a lot more to offer, and I would not be surprised if we saw a lot more of the Bernardo we saw against Villa next season. If he was given a chance to sort of relax a little bit and enjoy himself. But if he moves on at the same time, it means City are serious about the rebuild. They can be serious about the rebuild without moving Bernardo on, by the way, but it just means being aggressive with the rebuild. And I'm fine with that too. I think it's reasonably win-win. And I think Guardiola would be relaxed either way. And I think we'll know more probably towards the end of the season because this isn't the kind of thing that will happen after the Club World Cup. I think we'll hear a bit more about it because I think the players that City would want would be a Morgan Gibbs-White. He would be, in my opinion, that would be the Bernardo replacement, given where Bernardo currently plays. An aggressive box-to-box, technically excellent number 8. Yeah, that screams Bernardo Silva for me. So time will tell. I think there's truth in most of the reports, which doesn't really clear things up. But I think but that's football. It can be complicated.
Yeah, I mean, he's rated really highly by Guardiola. Guardiola said after the Villa game, he's Bernardo in the important games. He's has an incredibly huge personality, and for him, he's a player on another level for many, many reasons. So he's still rated highly, even though some might have suggested that he's maybe had a poor season. But for Guardiola, he's still offered a lot and can offer a
Yeah.
lot to City. So that maybe suggests that he wants him to stay for at least one more year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Guardiola would take him in a heartbeat. Absolutely. I think he wants him to stay. Um, he might get his wish. It just depends entirely. I do think Guardiola is going to cede to the director of football and so on. I think he understands that the time is right, and he's basically admitted publicly that he loves these players and he's very close to them, and it's very hard to let go. And why wouldn't he? They're friends as well at this point when you've known someone for that long. So I think Guardiola wants him to stay. Does he mean he should? Probably not. I think it's more complicated than that. Um, Either way, given the aggressive nature of the rebuild so far with the signings in January, and given that they're letting De Bruyne go, I have trust that they're going to do the right thing. And a small part of me, selfishly, by the way, would like to know before the end of the season. It'd be nice to say goodbye to Bernardo, by the way. That's a slight aside there. It's just Bernardo Silva to me is a club legend. He's one probably the top 20 ever Man City players. I think he's that good. And if he doesn't get a send off, that would be a real shame because I hate it when players like that just leave in the summer because you don't get to say goodbye to him. There's a slight aside there anyway. But yeah, I think Guardiola will keep him. It doesn't mean he'll stay.